Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. Today's podcast episode is all about tariffs because we are all talking about it online. So let's dive into it. Okay. So if you're listening and you're like, what the heck is a tariff? A tariff is basically a tax that is placed on imported goods. So, and that tax is basically by the government. In simple terms, when you buy a product and your product is bought out of country, so it's coming from somewhere else. So like, for instance, if you buy a flat iron from China, or if you buy like skincare from Europe, the government might charge a fee on that product, and that fee is considered a tariff. Okay. So just in case you didn't know, okay, so tariffs are really affecting the beauty industry. Obviously, we are all being affected in some kind of way. We all basically buy a certain amount of our products from out of country, or your distributors, whoever you go through. So whether you're buying some from a distributor in the United States, probably that distributor is buying from somewhere out of country. Okay. A lot of our raw goods, especially chemicals, are out of country as well. So we have to really pay attention to where things are coming from. I don't think that this is a bad thing, buying out of country. So that's not something that I feel like is horrible, but it's definitely going to affect your business in a lot of different ways. I am going to share today on some ways that I feel like you can protect yourself from tariffs, and some ways that I feel like are kind of business savvy to make it through. Okay. But in general, if you want to know, these tariffs are kind of affecting industries in different ways. I feel like, so hair extensions, for instance, a lot of hair extensions might come from Asia and India. And those are basically, their increase is anywhere between 7.5% to up to 25% more because of these tariffs. So if you do hair extensions, you're probably really feeling it if you're going to a place that's going to be affected with that 25% increase. Styling tools, so like blow dryers, curling irons, things like that, it's showing on the internet that those are rising between 10 to 15%. Hair color and chemical products, so like lash lift solutions, hair coloring, anything that's chemical based, they said that one's basically going to be between 12 to 15%. So every part of the industry is going to be affected a little bit differently. So I will say, like, it just depends on what you offer and how you're offering things and what those percentages may be, right? So let's talk about how this affects you as a business owner. So it affects you in a couple different ways, right? So your profit margins are going to be the most affected, and that's what you're going to notice the most, is when you have to buy a higher product, right? You are going to make less money doing whatever that thing is, because now you have to purchase at a higher rate. So how I would fix that is, there is some ways that you can raise your prices. So if you haven't raised your prices in the last couple years, I highly suggest raising your prices. I'm a firm believer in raising your prices every year or every 2 years if you can. And people are used to this, right? So like, your clients are used to inflation. Inflation is going to happen every year. So things incrementally go up, right? So this isn't something that your clients are not going to be used to. Yes, they might be like, oh man, because everybody's, on a different budget level when it comes to certain things. But I will say, like, a 10% increase in your prices is not going to be as shocking as if you did a 50% increase. So the reason I suggest you to do it 1 to 2 years is because then you can incrementally raise it without having to really raise it high. So if you waited 5 years, let's say, to raise your prices, then you would possibly have to raise them up almost 50% just to get those profit margins. A lot of times your profit margins, are just dependent on each person, right? So like, for me, I think a good profit margin would be like, you would profit at least 20%. So a lot of times with retail, we are marking up our retail by 100%. If you're not marking up your retail by 100%, I highly suggest you do. Services, everybody's a little different with services. I would say service costs, you're always going to be within that 20 to more percentage profit range. If you're not, your prices are too low. I would say most often, if your prices are competitive with the people in your area, your profit margins are probably doing pretty good. So the other way that this affects, so other than your profit margins, other than your clients and raising your prices, the other way that this is going to affect your business is your supply chain disruptions. So I will say, like, so if you have a company that you regularly buy from, this might interrupt how they distribute things. So this might interrupt like their shipping. This might interrupt certain things that they buy for their, distribution. So be careful of that and be mindful of that. So be looking out for those emails from your distributors, be looking out those emails from your manufacturers, all the things, be in contact with them. Maybe even send them an email and say, hey, how are the tariffs affecting your business? Is there anything I could be looking forward to from your company? Or is there any delays? Or what is your price increase and so forth? It's always a good idea to stay on top of those things just because as a business owner, really it's important for you to not only understand where your products are coming from, but also understand like if something is going to take extra time. So let's say you offer lash lift and tint and all of your lash lift products come from out of country. Well, it's good for you to know, like if you're about to run out, well, this company is taking an extra 2 weeks to send things out. So that's going to be longer than maybe you anticipated. So just stay on top of that. So a couple other ways other than raising your prices is really narrowing in on where you are spending your money. So I think for me, this is kind of what I've done for many years is what are the services that you actually are offering that you profit the most with? So if you're offering some services that you aren't really passionate about, you're not making a lot of money with, I would say cut those services off your service menu and maybe sell the remaining of your supplies to somebody that does offer that service. Because when you focus your energy and time on something that's really not, first of all, driving your passion, I always drive from that source, right? So if something's not making you happy and you're not passionate about it, I really suggest not offering it at all. But also in these times, that is money that you have just sitting there, right? You always hear people say like, don't have a lot of inventory if your times are tough, because that's just money that you're not going to be able to get back basically. So you keeping a lot of supplies, you keeping a lot of things like that isn't going to give you a return on profit. But if you know that you're not going to be offering that service anymore, selling those supplies to somebody else that possibly needs them and wants them locally and so forth is really going to help you and help them. So really optimize what you're doing right now with your business. Really look at where is most of my profit coming from? Where am I happy? What do I need to do to really narrow in? I suggest this anyway. I'm a big believer in narrowing in on your passion in this industry. The beauty industry is really one of those things where it is easy to get distracted by everything. I want to offer this because it's popular. I want to offer that because somebody else offers it and I think that's really cool. I want to do this. It's like the shiny syndrome, like where you get attracted to shiny things really quickly. Don't get into that trap. Okay. I have spent too much time, money, and effort on things that didn't work out for me because I wasn't really truly passionate about, but I wanted to offer it because it was popular. And I will tell you just from lived experience that it never serves you. You're never going to truly feel passionate about it if it didn't already spark that passion to begin with. And so it's very hard because you'll definitely spend a lot of time and money on that. So also this is a time where we need to strengthen our client relationships, right? So anytime the clients are going through something, you're going through something, and the economy is going through something, we're going through things just as a world, this is a good time to nurture your clients, right? So send them that email that's telling them how much you appreciate them and how much, being a small business owner, you get impacted in so many different ways, and really keep it a positive, right? We want to always keep our communication with our client as positive as we can. But including them in the conversation, just a small amount. So we're not giving them all the details. You're not telling them all of my pricing went up by 25% or whatever. But you really want to include them in conversations of like, hey, just to let you know, in the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be, I'm going to be raising my prices for these services to this, and my retail is going to be going up by this percentage. And you can just give a small thing of like, these are the reasons why. Like I said earlier, a lot of clients are going to know why. A lot of clients are feeling it at the grocery store. A lot of clients are feeling it in other ways. So they know what's happening in the world around them. But the reason I want you to start diving into your client relationships is because we need to really help them understand the perceived value of what your service offers, right? So if somebody values your service, 9 times out of 10, they are going to find that money somewhere in their own budget. So their own, I call it a beauty budget. So just to like keep that in mind of like, even when times are tough, even when the economy's down, like back in 2008, we saw this as, the economy was down as well. People will find that money if it really truly makes them happy, if they value your service, if they really find something fundamental in their life that you impact. Okay. So I wouldn't worry about that. Like, don't think about that as your main thing. Also, we can't control what other people spend their money on. We can't control how people live their lives. And you can't predict how somebody's making their money and what they're doing, right? So there is a good handful of people out there that, yeah, maybe they're feeling it in different ways, but they're not feeling it on the daily basis like maybe some of us are. So you have to just go with the mindset of like, I don't know what this person's thing is, it's not the same as mine. Their situation is completely different. I am just going to be here consistently offering my amazing service that I offer that makes them very happy, that they love and I love, and really get that value going. But, building that relationship with your client base is always something I suggest, right? Like, this is definitely something you should be working on all the time, not only during these times. So sending an email out once a week, sending an email once maybe every 2 weeks, whatever is comfortable for you. I personally send an email out once a week, but you need to be continuing on that conversation outside of the treatment room. There also could be a little bit more of like you looking for people that do offer, your products in the United States or in local business sense. So for me, I have definitely supported local businesses for many years. And that's just because it's important for me to support small businesses specifically. So like I said, I don't really have a problem buying something out of country. That's not really where I'm coming from that. I'm more about supporting another small business because I'm also a small business. So this is maybe a good time for you to start doing that. Like when I used to offer lash lift and tint, like I honestly, like I switched from a very large, well-known company to a company that's small and local to where I live. And I've been much happier because knowing that I'm supporting another small business like myself. But it makes me happy just knowing that like if I did have any issues, I can communicate with them pretty fast because they're another small business. You know what I mean? My product didn't change by anything. None of it really changed from what I was using. So that was the funny thing is like their product was very similar to what I was using already. So my protocols really didn't change that much. Like my clients didn't notice anything. And so but it made me happier knowing I was supporting a small business. I was supporting a local business to myself. And sometimes that's what we need. So if this is a good opportunity for you to look into that, I would highly suggest you doing it. It also can build relationships in your own community as well. So that's the other reason I like it because, you're always building on building on building. So we're all getting hit by these tariffs. It's everybody, but there are ways that you can navigate through this in your business. There's ways that you can navigate through this and not lose client base. Trust and believe it's happened before in our economy. And so we've lived through this. And so If you're kind of listening to this and you're feeling a little bit depressed, a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit, all of the emotions are coming up, just know that that is normal as well. Take some time to clear your mind, take some time to relax, take some time to unwind in some ways that will help you, but write down a plan. Like, I would start with writing down all of the supplies that you use in your business, all of the services that you offer, and really narrowing in of like, where do I make my most money? Where are my clients coming from the most? Where am I passionate about? Start there, and then start narrowing in on what you can do otherwise. I hope all of these tips help you navigate these tariffs, and I hope you continue on offering the same amazing services to your clients in the same amazing ways that they value. And thank you for listening. I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or a tip that you can use immediately. My episodes come out weekly, so I'll see you in the next episode.